BBC Radio 6 Music. This is a free download from the BBC. To find out more, go to the 6 Music website now.
This is Peter Serafinowicz. Only on BBC Radio 6 Music.
Hi, it's Peter Serafinowicz. Thanks for downloading the podcast. I've taken over the JoyOf6 podcast for the next 7 weeks. This week, Brian Butterfield's on. Wogan's pirate radio station is back. Plus, I've got someone coming in later on who's doing the show with me. Matt Berry is joining me. Also, I've got Kevin Eldon coming in. I've also got Terence Stamp, legendary actor Terence Stamp. I hope you enjoy it.
Peter Serafinowicz, BBC Radio 6 Music.
I'm now joined by actually one of my acting heroes. He's a legendary actor who was nominated for an Academy Award
for his first movie.
for his first movie.
Ignored ever since.
And he's worked with everybody, really. He's worked with Michael Caine, he's worked with Marlon Brando, he's worked with George Lucas. You would know him maybe as General Zod from Superman 1 and 2.
The best two.
Yeah, the best two. It's Mr. Terence Stamp. Hello, welcome to the show.
Good morning.
How you doing?
Not too bad.
Good, man, good.
Well, so far so good.
Yeah, so far so good. All right. You've got a book coming out, or you've got a book which is out already.
It is out.
It is out.
It's like an electronic book, you download it.
Right, okay. What's it called?
It's called Rare Stamps.
And it's autobiographical.
It's autobiographical, but it doesn't have a kind of like a trajectory like my other memoirs. In other words, it's really about like meetings with remarkable people, So I dip in and out of my life and how it was influenced and how various people influenced me.
Right.
So it's not a handbook, but I thought it might be interesting for young would-be actors to read,
Yeah, because that is one of the most brilliant things about being an actor is all the amazing people that you get to meet and work with.
Yeah, and instant, I mean, if when I was starting out, I was told, who I would meet over the next 10 years, I probably wouldn't have believed it.
Yeah. So you were nominated for an Oscar for your first film.
Yes.
So you were propelled into that whole world at a very young age, and so you must have met all those people and had all those people coming after you straight away. What was that like?
Well, I was kind of saved a lot of that, or I was saved from a lot of that, because the guy who discovered me sort of mentored me, and he was a great man called Peter Ustinov, and he was a great man. He was a great sort of philosopher.
Wow. Okay.
And at the end of the filming of Billy Budd, he'd said to me, he'd asked me not to come to rushes. He just wanted me to not have my line dislodged by seeing rushes.
So rushes is when you see
or dailies, you call them. You
Yeah.
see them the next day after you shoot.
Yeah, and that's the unedited tapes of what you've
so
done.
he
the day
saved
before.
me from that. And at the end of the movie, he said, "What are you doing next?" And I said, "I don't know." And he said, "Well, I think we've done something special here, and I think that people will come after you. But," he said, "I want to tell you that if you do good things will come to you."
Right.
So it kind of saved me a lot of crap, basically, that I was offered immediately. But it did result in the fact that I was out of work for about a year after Billy Budd came out.
Right.
But then the film The Collector showed up with William Wyler, so I went from one genius to another genius.
Wow.
So in a way, I was propelled into the stratosphere, but I had kind of older people keeping an eye on me.
Right. I loved that film, The Collector, and I read the book first, John Fowles' book, and then and it's one of those films that's very. It feels very true to the book, and it's an absolutely chilling performance. Yeah. It's wonderful, and it's really modern as well. It's really it's kind of, you know, keeping like a serial killer. Well, he's not a serial killer. He's a sort of a bit of a nutcase, isn't he?
Well, he is. I guess he is a serial killer. But when I was given the galleys of the book, you know, before it was published, and they'd put an option on the film rights,
right?
So nobody had seen it, and they gave me the galleys to read, and I was so entranced by it, but I knew I couldn't play it because in the book he's like a sort of small, spotty, smelly bank clerk, and I thought, well. It's not exactly me, you know.
Yeah.
And so I turned it down. I turned it down for quite a long time. They kept coming back to me. And I said, look, I can't do this. You don't understand. And finally they said, look, we've got William Wyler. You're going to turn down William Wyler.
And what has he done, William Wyler?
William Wyler was the most successful director in the world because he had never made a movie that hadn't had wonderful press and was a commercial success.
Right.
From The Best Years of Our Lives right through to Ben-Hur. You know, he was arguably, with Billy Wilder, they were the two top directors in the world.
Right.
Frankly. And I said to, does Wyler want me? And they said, yes. And I said, who's the girl? And they said, well, we're testing the girls. And I said, well, look, I'll do the tests with the girls. Not a commitment. I'll do the test with the girls, and if Mr. Wyler likes me, then we'll see, you know.
Right.
So I did the test with the girls. Wyler didn't do the test himself, but he flew over to see them. And I was asked to go to the old Columbia building in Dean Street to meet him. And I remember standing in the end of this corridor and people opening doors and checking me out. And finally this little guy emerged at the far end of the corridor. Walked towards me, and he was just staring at me. And he got right close to me. His gaze hadn't wavered, you know. I began to be a bit kind of unnerved. You know. I said, have you seen the tests? And he nodded. I said, which girl do you like? And he said, I haven't looked at the girls yet. And that kind of reached me, and I said, do you really want me for this? And he said, nodded, yeah. And I said, but you know, in the book, and he pulled me to him. I remember he smelled of like aftershave and sort of gouloirs, and he whispered into my ears, we're not going to make the book. We're going to make a love story, modern. So I was immediately a collaborator with him.
Right.
And that was how I did it.
Wow, fantastic. Well, look, it's a great film. We've actually worked together because I was in the Phantom Menace, the Star Wars film. I did the voice of Darth Maul, and Terence played Chancellor Valorum in this film. So, what was your experience on the Phantom Menace then?
Well, I just moved in with my girlfriend in Australia. I'd been here, I'd picked up some clothes, I'd gone back to Sydney. And the day after I landed, I got a call from my then agent, and she said, oh, they want you in Star Wars, they want you in Star Wars. I said, well, when? Well, now, now. I said, I've just arrived, love, I'm on the other side of the world, you know. No, but it's Star Wars, they want you. I said, is it a lot of money? Well, no, they don't pay much, you know, it's like Star Wars, you know. I said, yeah, but no, but they really want you, I said, when do they want me? Well, they want you to come back tomorrow. I said, well, how many days work? Well, 2 days work. I said, love, I just got here, you know what I mean? Well, no, but listen, they really want you, and like, you have a scene with Natalie Portman, who I must admit, I had a terrible crush on her. And so I said, yeah, but you know, if it's like 2 days' work, no, but it's going to be good, you know, everybody goes to see Star Wars. I said, what's the part? She said, well, he's the president of the universe. I said, oh, okay, I'll get on the plane. So I get on the plane, and I arrive. I do costumes. The day after, I'm in the studio, and George Lucas comes up, and he says, oh, I've given Natalie the day off. That bit of paper stuck on the wall, that's Natalie. I said, oh, thanks. And so I do my scene with this bit of paper stuck on the wall. And then I did the following day, and then I was off. And I got a call on my answer machine saying, George has dropped a shot, and they want you to come in and do the extra shot. Could you come in, like, day after tomorrow? And I thought to myself, he's only calling me. If he calls my agent, she's going to say, another day's pay, another, like, 2 and 6, a toffee apple. And so I didn't answer. And I went to Wagamama in Lexington Street, the downstairs. And there's George Lucas and his producer, and they say, Terence, we were trying to get you, So I was conned into doing this extra shot.
Yeah.
But a shot he'd forgotten. And while I was there, I spoke to, I guess, a woman, either producer or a line producer. And I said, listen, you're not paying much money, and it's making sort of hundreds of millions. Like, what goes down? What happens, And she said, if the actors, are really good, George gives them a present. I thought, that's all right. So when I leave the studio, I go into my dressing room, and there's a box. It looked like a box of pencils, and it was like a box of Star Wars stencils. And that was my present. That was my present. And I just couldn't believe it. I thought, may the Force be with you, George. You know what I mean? Because I thought the Force was non-individual. Do you understand? I thought the Force was cosmic.
Yeah.
I thought the Force was like awareness, like it was true democracy, like everybody had the Force,
Yeah.
So you have to think of everybody as you. But maybe he hasn't got as much Force as we attribute him with.
Well, the Phantom Menace, it only made $1 billion.
And he owned it all, right?
Yeah.
Like he wasn't beholden to anybody. I didn't keep my stencils. I left them in the dressing room,
So look, I'm going to play a song now that's from the Kinks' Waterloo Sunset.
Oh.
Yeah?
Oh.
Yeah?
Title of my screenplay.
Oh, right. Okay. Wicked. Great. I didn't know that. Fantastic.
Did you know the Terry and Julie and the lyric?
It's you and Julie Christie.
Apparently my brother, Ray Davis, who's friendly. I don't know Ray Davis. I love Ray Davis, but I don't know him. But my brother was quite friendly with him, having discovered The Who and all that.
Right.
60s madness. And he asked Ray Davis about that lyric, and Ray told my brother, he was visualizing Julie and me when he wrote the lyric.
Wow.
So it's kind of nice whenever I hear that.
All right, let's have that in our minds now as we listen.
The Terry and Julie cross over the river, where they feel safe and sound. And they don't need no friends, as long as they gaze on Waterloo Sunset, they are in paradise.
Coming up, we've got Terry Wogan's Pirate Radio Station. We've got Brian Butterfield coming up. Matt Berry is going to be joining us in the studio very soon, and Kevin Eldon. And we're still in the company here of Terence Stamp. Now, Terence, you played General Zod in Superman. And in Supermen 1 and 2. And I've actually... You feature... You were in Superman 1, and you shot them both at the same time.
We shot them both at the same time, yeah.
And it was a different director brought on for the second film.
Well, the thing was that we spent so much money shooting 2. The budget was 12 million, and when we'd spent 35,
wow,
the producer said, stop shooting part 2, finish part 1.
Right.
So we finished shooting part 1. It opened. It was the biggest moneymaker of all time, and they immediately fired the director and brought in Richard Lester.
Who'd done Hard Day's Night.
Yeah, I mean, he was a very good director, but
Yeah.
the point was that we were a family with Richard Donner. It was his masterpiece.
Yeah.
And so he's been 20 years, like, restoring his version. So there's now what they call a director's cut of Part 2.
Oh, right, okay.
Because when Richard Lester did Part 2, Brando had shot all his stuff, and they cut out Brando to weaken his case against them because he was trying to get more money from them.
Right.
And they replaced Brando with Susanna York. It's rather eccentric. But Dick Donner has found all the Brando footage. So in the director's cut of Superman 2, it's just exquisite. I mean, it's like how Dick Donner envisaged it, you know.
Wow.
So any of you Superman fans out there, look for the director's cut of Part 2.
Because I prefer Superman 2 to the first one, the theatrical version. I think it's great. Because it's really funny as well, and I think that's the thing as well that I always thought about Christopher Reeve, his performance. People don't often talk about, like, he was really funny as Superman and as Clark Kent.
Yeah, I mean, I thought his Clark Kent was, like, more brilliant than his Superman.
Yeah.
Because it was more, I guess, he felt easier with it.
Yeah.
But he was very funny. He was very funny on set. You know?
And was he a nice guy?
Yeah, he was a super nice guy. He was like Clark Kent. You know?
Yeah. And Brando, I mean, of course, for any actor,
Yeah.
What was that like? Because you knew him before, didn't you?
Yeah, he was. I think, probably one of my favourite people of all time. I mean, he was one of my favourite actors. He is one of my favourite actors.
Yeah.
But as a person, I think he's probably the funniest guy I've ever met. You know.
Really.
And it's so charming that somebody who's so physically attractive doesn't take himself seriously at all.
Right.
I mean, he's just funny. He's just naturally funny, you know?
Right. Wow. Terence, thanks so much for coming on the show. And it's been such a pleasure. You've got your book, Rare Stamps.
Right.
It's called. And it's your inspirational encounters with people that you've admired and worked with. And
yeah, I just thought, I've been doing it for such a long time, and I thought to myself, I should really talk about what has meant a lot to me as a performer, what's enabled me to have a long career. So it was basically, although it wasn't for young actors, I had that in mind when I wrote it. I thought, what could I tell young actors that I truly believe in, the things in my life that have been benchmarks. So that's really what the book is about. It's autobiographical, but it's not like a normal memoir. It's just I'm dipping in and out of my life and people who came to mind, Orson Welles, Ustinov, Fellini, Brando, the people that meant a lot to me.
Wow. It sounds just fascinating. And it's available as an audiobook as well with you.
It's available as an audiobook. You can get it. It's called Escargot Books Online, which is a website where you can order it electronically. You can also order it as a paperback.
Right.
But you have to get it through Escargot.
Right.
And those details are on the Terence Stamp UK.co website.
Thank you so much, Terence.
This is Peter Serafinowicz on BBC Radio 6 Music.
Listen to Peter Show, and I'm here with Matt Berry.
Hello.
So, Matt, it's great to have you here. It's just amazing.
Oh, thanks. Well, I'm not very busy at the moment, so.
Are you not? Okay. I mean, Terence Stamp. I mean, what was that like? That was insane.
Yeah, Terence Stamp. What an actor. What a voice. Doe. Hi, Matt.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good, man. I'm sort of a bit. Terence Stamp. I mean, he's sort of. I mean, he's like a legendary actor, isn't he?
Yeah. The thing is, with some actors and some sort of pop stars, when you meet them, it's kind of whatever. But with some, it isn't. Their faces kind of make you stop what you're doing.
Yeah.
And I think he was one of them.
He's so beautiful as well, isn't he?
Yeah. When I walked in, it was like, oh Christ, that's Terence Stamp.
Yeah.
As opposed to,
Oh, it's Peter Serafinowicz.
Yeah.
Terry Wogan.